Señoras y señores, la Universidad de Santiago de Chile les da la más cordial bienvenida al seminario Nuevos Enfoques Epistemológicos para la Acción en Enfermería, organizado por la Escuela de Enfermería de la Facultad de Ciencias Médicas de esta Casa de Estudios Superiores Estatal y Pública. Preside esta ceremonia la directora de la Escuela de Enfermería, señora Marcela Baeza Contreras. Queremos saludar muy especialmente y destacamos la participación de la doctora Marilyn, invitada especial de esta actividad. A continuación, se dirigirá a ustedes la directora de la Escuela de Enfermería, señora Marcela Baeza Contreras.
Gracias, estimados colegas, estudiantes, profesores, buenos días a todos. Quisiera darles la más cordial bienvenida a este seminario organizado por un equipo de profesores y liderado por la profesora Lucía Castillo y la dirección de escuela en el marco del plan estratégico de nuestra unidad 2020-2030. Deseo dar una especial bienvenida a la doctora Marilyn, quien hoy nos honra con su participación en este evento. Es razón de nuestra escuela formar profesionales de alta calidad académica, pero también con conciencia sobre los principales problemas de su entorno y con el compromiso de aportar a la transformación de este, para construir y obtener conocimiento sobre la realidad, para que logremos transformar esta realidad y sirva como insumo para la toma de decisiones. Pero todo eso no será posible si no logramos integrar las teorías, ¿cierto?, al quehacer de los cuidados de enfermería. Por lo tanto, para nosotros como escuela es un honor y un privilegio poder hoy día escuchar a la doctora Marilyn, que tiene una vasta trayectoria en este ámbito, ¿cierto? Cómo transformar los entornos y aportar a la transformación de estos desde la teoría de enfermería. Así que muchas gracias.
Buenos días, gracias.
Señoras y señores, enseguida hará uso de la palabra la profesora Rossana Navarro.
Buenos días. Necesito por favor que me permitan compartir pantalla. Listo. ¿Pueden ver muy bien la presentación? Sí, muchas gracias. Saludar a todos los presentes, a nuestra directora de escuela, la señora enfermera Marcela Baeza Contreras. Dear Dr. Ray, welcome to Chile. Welcome to our simple but great School of Nursing at the University of Santiago de Chile. And thank you for your presence here today. Queridos y queridas colegas, estimados estudiantes, sean también bienvenidos. En este comienzo quiero agradecer al equipo organizador por la confianza depositada para realizar esta pequeña presentación. En esta mañana de junio me ha tocado introducir a este evento que nos convoca y que se ha denominado Nuevos Enfoques Epistemológicos para la Acción de Enfermería. En esta introducción quiero mostrar que nuestro momento hoy en Chile 2022 nos hace ubicarnos en una escuela de enfermería que se caracteriza primero por pertenecer a una universidad libre, democrática y pluralista, esencia que hereda la unidad académica que es nuestro entorno. Es muy relevante declarar que este espacio, querido por todas y todes, es una institución consolidada en la formación de pregrado de enfermeros y enfermeras, con 28 años de desarrollo de profesionales que son ampliamente reconocidos en el sistema sanitario chileno y que nos otorgan este estatus. Me refiero con estatus al estado de una escuela consolidada y reconocida. En este momento del desarrollo de nuestra escuela es necesario problematizar como cuerpo académico la acción de enfermería en la pospandemia. Hoy, tras 2 años, los equipos de enfermería están viviendo momentos determinantes. Las enfermeras y enfermeros en el mundo han sido elementos esenciales en cada instante de la crisis sanitaria, sometidos a altas exigencias, tanto en la acción de enfermería al interior del hospital como fuera de él. Chile no ha sido la excepción. Nuestros egresados de las 2 últimas generaciones han vivido cada respiro la crisis sanitaria mundial y han sido capaces de integrarse a los equipos en este periodo con esfuerzo y tesón. Las problemáticas para la acción de enfermería pospandemia se alinean con el momento histórico que vivimos. Las entregas de cuidados sanitarios por efecto de la pandemia en sus momentos más álgidos han aumentado los problemas de salud previos a la pandemia y se han presentado, por supuesto, que nuevos. En este marco, la enfermería presenta desafíos que, según la Organización Mundial de la Salud y la Organización Panamericana de la Salud, se centran en una primera línea en problemáticas relacionadas con, primero, la migración. La migración del personal de enfermería ya no solo desde sistemas públicos a los privados, que era una problemática que vivíamos en el día a día, o viceversa, sino que esta migración es desde el área propiamente tal, es decir, desde nuestra disciplina a otras disciplinas. Entre las causas que se describen son los sistemas de turno, el estrés y la motivación o pérdida de motivación en el desarrollo de funciones, dejando de lado, por supuesto, la influencia que tienen las remuneraciones bajas y la carga de trabajo. Básicamente, las estrategias que la OPS y la OMS proponen es el fortalecimiento de 2 elementos que solo mencionaremos: la experiencia y aplicación de la práctica avanzada, en la cual debemos comprometernos, y la educación interprofesional. Ambos son desafíos que como cuerpo académico debemos mirar basándonos en el desarrollo y fortalecimiento de la epistemología de enfermería. Desde la ocurrencia de estos hechos me permito problematizar la enfermería chilena. La historia de la enfermería en Chile nos permite describir que es una disciplina que durante siglos ha estado asociada a un oficio de mujeres y por ende su valoración social ha estado marcada por el avance de la mujer al interior de las sociedades. Tanto la práctica de enfermería como la formación del personal y su selección están ligados a la transformación histórica del proceso social de producción, y por ello el papel que juega la mujer al interior de las sociedades de un país mostrará el avance de la enfermería, ya sea como profesión o como disciplina. Nuestro espacio disciplinario durante los últimos 70 años se ha caracterizado por diseñar teorías y modelos conceptuales que buscan describirla y explicarla. Es así que la producción de conocimiento a nivel internacional estuvo primariamente centrada en desarrollar este gran cuerpo de conocimientos que nos brinda este espacio epistemológico propios de la enfermería, que permitiera sostener una postura al interior de la propia enfermería y también fuera de ella. Contextualizar la enfermería chilena a comienzos del siglo XX, podemos decir que poseía una formación de oficio, con una cantidad de personas que en 1920 era muy distinta a la actual. La formación profesional se inicia de manera institucional al interior de nuestra Universidad de Chile en el 1906, por la necesidad de instruir científicamente solamente a mujeres laicas que atendieron las necesidades crecientes de cuidados en los recintos hospitalarios. Posteriormente, el proceso de profesionalización de la enfermería está influido por los adelantos científicos y tecnológicos en el área de la medicina, y por ello se necesitó formar un profesional que se dedicara al cuidado de los enfermos con conocimientos científicos. Esto impulsó la consolidación de la enfermería como profesión en el país. Hoy, múltiples escuelas de enfermería, entre ellas la nuestra, forman profesionales que se instalan en los espacios públicos con formación teórico-práctica y dan fuerza a nuestra profesión. ¿Qué ha ocurrido con la pandemia? La pandemia ha tenido influencia y sus consecuencias han marcado al profesional actual. ¿Contribuyó la pandemia a revitalizar el rol de enfermería? No nos cabe duda allí. El elemento que juega a favor en nuestro periodo de pospandemia, sabemos que los sistemas de salud no pueden funcionar sin personal. La mejora de la cobertura de los servicios sanitarios y su influencia en la salud de la población depende de la disponibilidad del personal, recurso humano, de la accesibilidad y de la aceptabilidad. La disponibilidad la tenemos clara y se refiere a la cantidad de recursos humanos que deben ser suficientes para poder atender las necesidades del país. La accesibilidad se refiere a una cantidad necesaria de recursos humanos, pero también bien distribuidos. Chile es un lugar que no está descentralizado y por lo tanto podemos observar que hay una buena cantidad de recursos humanos en los lugares más centralizados del país. No ocurre lo mismo con aquellas zonas limítrofes que tienen una dispersión en su población. Antes de la pandemia existía un contexto de falta de recursos humanos. calificado en números totales, podemos decir que había déficit en las Américas, especialmente en los países de Bolivia y Haití. Chile especialmente no presenta números críticos, pero no tenemos la cantidad suficiente de recursos humanos para poder establecer o decir que la relación enfermera y número de pacientes o habitantes logra su cometido en las grandes ciudades. Es así, reitero, que en las zonas desprotegidas esta situación se revierte. En este sentido, planteamos que es relevante seguir hablando de descentralización de los actos de enfermería. También describe la OPS una falta de coherencia en el modelo de salud implementado y el modelo de educación hacia la formación de los enfermeros. También plantea que la formación sigue estando centrada en lo biomédico, en el modelo hospitalario y en la hiperespecialización, y que no da cuenta de las necesidades que debieran abordar los profesionales de la salud al egresar para trabajar en los sistemas. También plantea que el financiamiento es inadecuado, pues se sigue pensando que los recursos humanos son un costo excesivo. Los sistemas de información además influyen, pues la ausencia de datos entre los sistemas no permite conocer realidades. En Chile, como cual otro país, existe una brecha que no es factible y posible de conocer, pues nuestros sistemas de información están separados. La Superintendencia de Salud y otros dos sistemas que tienen que ver con la atención primaria. Y además, la gobernanza es débil. Hay poco trabajo entre el sector educación y el sector salud. Los actores sociales, las universidades, los gremios entre sí, son un fenómeno que no solo está en Chile. Al afirmar de la gobernanza es débil, me refiero a que la articulación que debe provenir desde lo gubernamental no está bien desarrollada y comienza o continúa todavía en ciernes. En este punto me quiero detener, pues desde mi percepción como profesional de larga experiencia, hoy veo mucha más movilización de los sectores gremiales y sociedades de enfermería en la búsqueda de lograr unificaciones y conseguir metas para enfermería. Sin embargo, estoy de acuerdo con las fuentes consultadas en que aún nos falta un gran camino por recorrer y esto es una tarea para las nuevas generaciones. La epistemología de la ciencia de la enfermería la hemos desarrollado en un marco epistemológico que se resume en dos estructuras de conocimiento: el teórico y el práctico. El elemento teórico se enfoca en la ciencia y teorías que tomamos para tener un cuerpo de conocimientos que nos avalan. El segundo, el práctico, se puede considerar como el arte de la disciplina a través de las dimensiones prácticas. Nuestro desarrollo es reciente y deriva en un cuerpo de conocimientos que ha madurado, quedando en evidencia su naturaleza profesional. Este cuerpo se caracteriza por ser sistemático, racional, fiable y verificable. De aquí podemos destacar que la investigación en enfermería y el análisis lógico han permitido el desarrollo de modelos y teorías que proporcionan marcos de referencia para perfeccionar la práctica diaria. Esto permite describir una realidad y presentar el fenómeno, que es el interés disciplinario, que deriva en los actos de enfermería que se hacen efectivos y visibles en nuestros momentos de cuidado. Antes de continuar con las teorías, debemos destacar dos conceptos que parecen estar confrontados, pero en realidad no lo están. El primero es la totalidad y el segundo es la simultaneidad. La totalidad, en su significado más puro, nos describe que nos enfrenta a una realidad como un todo sistémico, en el cual puede ser comprendido racionalmente cualquier hecho. La simultaneidad ocurre cuando dos o más elementos o acciones que se relacionan coinciden entre sí en un momento y tiempo y lugar. Sin embargo, los presento aquí como dos conceptos que no son contrarios y pueden verse como complementarios. Los desafíos que enfrentamos durante la pandemia nos llevaron a comprender que los momentos de cuidado ocurren en un tiempo y en un lugar, y que a la vez los problemas están ocurriendo. Como ejemplo puedo dar que mientras administramos oxígeno a un paciente que no oxigena bien su organismo, también le estamos infundiendo hidratación para que no sufra riesgo de deshidratarse, por ejemplo, porque está con un estado febril. Este ejemplo nos lleva también a pensar en el momento de marzo del 2020 en Chile, que Chile se confinaba producto de la pandemia. Todo el país estaba confinado. Sin embargo, en el resto del mundo, como en Italia, el confinamiento pandémico había ocurrido tan solo unos días antes, pero el efecto del virus en el mundo era simultáneo. Este concepto de simultaneidad, en el que la tecnología nos ayuda a comprender con mayor facilidad lo que ocurre en el resto del mundo, y simultaneidad comprendida en una constante que no se detiene, como la vida, el crecimiento, el desarrollo, por ejemplo, de un niño o niña, o del embrión en el útero materno, es el paradigma que nos impulsa a un nuevo accionar de enfermería. Todo ocurre en un mismo momento. La persona siente dolor mientras cicatriza su herida. A la vez, otras zonas de su cuerpo pueden sufrir cizallamiento por la presión y comenzar a dañarse. Pero también esta persona siente, comprende, reflexiona. Cuando me escucha educarlo, se distrae y se altera porque su hija o hije está solo en casa. Este concepto de simultaneidad es el que nos lleva a comprender que el enfoque de la acción de enfermería al realizar los cuidados no puede pensarse como piezas de un rompecabezas que son separadas y por ende, lograr que nuestros futuros egresados comprendan este paradigma de la simultaneidad en la acción de enfermería es uno de nuestros desafíos de enseñanza-aprendizaje más grandes. No se trata de dejar de lado la teoría que usamos didácticamente hoy, y aquí hablo de una de las que ha sido mis favoritas de la enseñanza, el modelo de Virginia Henderson. Ampliamente comprobada su didáctica para el aprendizaje en el accionar de enfermería, permite escalonar el aprendizaje del cuidar como piezas separadas que forman un todo, entregándonos un paradigma de totalidad, al igual que la teoría de Oren. Son las primeras que conocemos cuando estudiamos. Las dificultades se presentan al tratar de unir las piezas. La integración teórica no es sencilla y su metacognición ocurre en los niveles más avanzados de nuestra carrera. Casi al final de ella, cuando se ha utilizado en el contexto real por aquel alumno que está por terminar su carrera. Por ello, desde la epistemología de enfermería, observamos que el concepto de simultaneidad está en coherencia con las filosofías posteriores o las postmodernas de enfermería. La línea histórica que observan es gruesa y omite detalles de estas teorías que pueden ser para algunas de ustedes representativas. En este resumen, toda nuestra epistemología hacia enfermería como neodisciplina en el postmodernismo comienza en la Edad Moderna, en 1856, con Nightingale, con su teoría del entorno, y ya en el postmodernismo, Henderson, en el 1966, ha consolidado su teoría y considerada filosofía de enfermería, y en la época actual representadas en Ray 2007, con la teoría burocrática, y sin duda nos queda en el tintero Watson 2014, con las etapas de procesos Cáritas, que nos invitan a en la enfermería a integrar este concepto de simultaneidad que aparece reflejado en nuestro actuar para un otro sano o enfermo. Finalmente, las acciones de cuidado son todas aquellas que surgen en los momentos de cuidado. El momento de cuidado es sagrado. En él elevamos la cohesión de la relación enfermera-paciente, desde el instante en que iniciamos una escucha activa, mirando a los ojos al paciente, que sufre dando libre ejecución a nuestras habilidades de valoración, con la observación, el examen físico y entrevista. Este es un simple ejemplo del paradigma de simultaneidad. Los momentos de cuidado ocurren en la misma línea de tiempo y espacio, y las enfermeras son capaces de realizar acciones de cuidado simultáneas. Este enfoque epistemológico nos energiza al observar la coherencia en la acción de enfermería, en la que efectivamente se ejerce un rol profesional en un paradigma de simultaneidad que no solo nace por el darse cuenta al elevar el nivel de conciencia desde lo profesional, sino también nace desde la emergencia de las necesidades expuestas por la población que las solicita y exige o que está en un constante cambio. La comprensión de este enfoque desde el pilar de la persona profesional, quienes somos académicas y docentes, que somos enfermeras además, que enseñan a otra persona a ser enfermera, implica elevar el nivel de la formación de la enfermería en Chile. En esta búsqueda mejoramos el desarrollo de la disciplina. Hasta aquí quedaría mi presentación. Agradecida.
Muchas gracias.
Muchas
Señoras y señores, queremos informarle al público presente que comenzando la clase magistral pueden enviar sus preguntas a través de las ventanas del chat del Zoom y también a través de la transmisión en YouTube. Y la ronda de preguntas se va a realizar al final de esta actividad. Marilyn es profesora emérita y profesora adjunta en Florida Atlantic University. Tiene un diploma de maestría en artes en antropología de la Universidad McMaster, Canadá, doctora en filosofía, en antropología y enfermería transcultural de la Universidad de Utah, Salt Lake City, Utah, y doctora honoraria en leyes de la Universidad McMaster. Ray ha ocupado cargos docentes en la Universidad de San Francisco, la Universidad de California en San Francisco, la Universidad McMaster, la Universidad de Colorado y los puestos de académico eminente y profesorado en la Universidad de Florida Atlantic. Está certificada como enfermera transcultural avanzada y es becaria de enfermería transcultural. Su enfoque es la publicación de ciencia solidaria ampliamente. Su libro más reciente es Transcultural Caring Dynamics in Nursing and Healthcare y ha realizado presentaciones a nivel nacional e internacional y además presenta, por ejemplo, nuevas ideas, robots humanoides de cuidado como una expresión de cuidado multicultural. Ray pasó 2 décadas estudiando el cuidado organizacional en hospitales militares y privados, como coronel retirada del Cuerpo de Enfermeras de la Fuerza Aérea de los Estados Unidos, y también recibió el Premio Nacional de Investigación de la Asociación de Cirujanos Militares de los Estados Unidos. Queremos entonces recordarles al público presente conectado en la plataforma Zoom que puede acceder a la traducción en español de esta clase magistral en el menú disponible en la plataforma. Le damos entonces la bienvenida a la doctora Marilyn Ray.
Gracias. This morning, I'm going to present the theory of bureaucratic caring, and I am grateful for the invitation to share my work, and I am grateful for my translator, both from Florida Atlantic University, as well as Francisco from Chile. And so I am honored to share this work with you, and the little that I could understand from the former presentation about the history of nursing in Chile. I know that nursing in Chile is the leading example of professional development in Latin America. And so it is an example, an exemplar of what has been developed and what will be advanced in this post-COVID-19 pandemic arena, where we may have had to make quite a few adjustments to our education, as well as our technology and the influence of technology on nursing education. And that is also a part of this theory that I saw many, many years ago when this theory was developed from research. And it is my doctoral dissertation research and was first published in 1981. And initially, at that time, nursing was not so much understanding the way in which a complex organization, such as a hospital, a community health center, would influence nursing. And but over the course of the last almost 40 years of this theory development, nursing and other disciplines are beginning to see how the political arena, the policy, and academics are influencing healthcare and the healthcare system. So I'm very pleased. You mentioned in my introduction that I was a faculty at McMaster University, and in some of the history that I learned from nursing in Chile, had to do with the ideas that were advanced at McMaster University, such as problem-based learning. Now it's called problem-informed learning, and as well as small group tutorial methodologies, which encourages students to engage more with the process of education as opposed to just being lectured at. So I feel very fortunate to have taught at, in my, believe it or not, McMaster is in the hometown of Hamilton, Ontario, where I was born. And, and recently I received the highest honor from the university, McMaster, of an honorary Doctor of Laws degree, which is a very prestigious honor for nursing from the point of view of being able to influence policy in academia as well as in practice. So thank you for sharing that with the audience today. And I am grateful that we have our director, Marcella Beza, as well as all of the faculty and the students to engage and share in my presentation. Next slide, please. This is in English. This was originally the second theoretical model that I advanced. The first model of bureaucratic caring, actually, as I mentioned, came from my doctoral dissertation research. And I just advanced more by including the physical and the sociocultural, which I did not have in the first model. But the first model was related to primarily beginning to look at the context or the hospital system and its influence on the meaning of caring in nursing. And I had a special relationship with Dr. Marilyn Leininger and Dr. Jean Watson, two of the most famous nurses who advanced caring science. And I was a student of Dr. Leininger. So my interest too was to study caring in the organizational culture. And so that was the nature of my research. And I had three different methodologies to study caring. One was ethnography, studying the culture of the institution, hospital institution. Second, phenomenology, studying the human experience and the meaning of the human experience of caring in the complex system. And thirdly, the grounded theory development, which is the generation of theory, which comes from practice. Many times theories in nursing have been advanced philosophically as opposed to the generation of theory that advances from nursing research and nursing practice itself. So this was one of the first studies of caring, the bureaucratic caring theory, that was advanced from research of caring in clinical practice. So we'll go to the next slide, please, because it's in Spanish. And so you would be able to see the concepts that were advanced in this theory, the sociocultural, the political, economic, technological, legal, physical, and educational. And in the center of this model is the spiritual, ethical caring. And the concept of caring, as I mentioned, was studied initially by me in the institutional culture. Further research began to show me that ethical caring was critical. For example, when I studied in critical care, further study in critical care and in what we call in the States step-down units, or the next level after critical care and oncology care. Much of the research that I developed further was more ethical, or looking at concepts related to ethics, such as respect for persons and doing the moral thing, doing the right thing, and nurses engaging in those ethical qualities. And then the spiritual was another component of my advanced theory of bureaucratic caring, like looking at more of the relationship with the integration of body, mind, and spirit, more of a holistic approach to human caring within the organizational culture. And this is a very difficult arena, as we know, and we've certainly identified it within the pandemic and post-pandemic area of how do nurses maintain their quality of holism, body, mind, spirit, within themselves as they communicate and relate to their patients. And this is an area that I've been very concerned about since the development of the COVID, and more or less some problems with maintaining the relationship. And as you may know, in the United States and Canada as well, there's a great shortage of nurses now. And we're trying to educate nurses as much and as fast as possible, but we also have a shortage of academic faculty, faculty who have advanced degrees in universities. So we have a great many challenges especially in the United States. And recently we created a new definition of nursing, which includes caring. It includes the science and the art of caring. And as well, we have a new set of what is called essentials of nursing, which is looking at caring as central to nursing science and nursing practice, as well as looking at culture, people who are within our country with multiple cultural differences, and how do we care more inclusively with people from different cultures, and not only from different cultures, but African American culture, Hispanic culture, has a long history in the United States, as well as many populations that have come to North America from around the world. So how do we provide the best culturally relevant or congruent care? So anyway, I wanted to show you this model, but you will have that in your translation from Francisco, who has really helped significantly with this presentation. So next slide, please. So these are definitions of the theory of bureaucratic caring that I have developed and improved upon over the years based on improvement or continuation of research. And over the course of the last 40 years of doing research on caring, I have received federal grant monies to study caring from the United States military, of which, I'm a retired colonel in the United States Air Force. So I was fortunate to receive money to study caring in the organizational culture, not only in hospitals, but also in community health, public health, and different types of hospitals, such as private hospitals and military hospitals. So these definitions are fairly new from a recent article I had published in 2021 on the evolution of Ray's theory of bureaucratic caring. So we can begin to see that caring in my research is significant. But as I mentioned, I am so pleased to tell you that caring is critical in new approaches to the definition of caring in the whole profession of nursing within the United States. Now, my definition of caring focuses on charity, or the concept of love, which has always been slightly difficult in academic communities, you know, where how do you talk about love as a concept that is significant from a research and educational point of view. But I do need to share with you that actually I am also a member of the Complexity Science scientific group in Italy, of which brings together scientists from around the world, especially quantum scientists, complexity scientists, and the nature of love is becoming very critical even within traditional science, or maybe it's not really traditional science now, it's more beyond the quantum. It's looking at science within the context of the environment within the universe, and what is the most powerful concept in the universe, which is, as Teilhard de Chardin, a scientist as well as a theologian, stated that love was the most critical force within the nature of the universe itself. So my definition talks about the relationship between charity and right action, or between love as compassion, or doing for the other in response to suffering or need, and then being just or being fair in terms of what ought to be done. So that is my definition of caring. And then spiritual ethical caring focuses on values of holism, the integration of body, mind, and spirit, and moral choice. What is the best choice for nurses to make within the context of caring for our patients? And certainly, how do administrators respond to the ethical or moral challenge of caring for patients? And now we have a greater challenge with this post-pandemic arena. So spiritual ethical caring is the meaning of caring as love, as compassion, or recognizing that we are part of one another, and respect, which is in the United States is the central concept of nursing ethics, respect for person, trust, how do we initiate trust, and how are we trusted as professionals, and our moral or ethical obligation to do the right thing for the good of others, our patients, the cultures, and society at large. Next slide, please. So this definition of my theory, one of the concepts in my theory, is sociocultural, and it focuses on the meaning of caring within social interaction, and it supports diversity or inclusion of others. And, you know, in the States now, most universities have a division or a department called diversity, inclusivity, equity or equality, and social justice. So university academics is beginning to understand how we have to be more inclusive about all people who are members of the student body and also members of the faculty, and how we have to respond to others within the university, within nursing practice, or within, you know, organizations, as well as within the society at large. So that requires us to be more communicative and understand communication. And how do we seek understanding of diverse groups and kinship groups, ethnicities, families, organizations within the national and global societal cultures. So today I'm a nurse anthropologist as well as a transcultural nurse through my education. And I'm beginning to see how academics and how especially academics, but also institutions are beginning to see how we have to respond to people of multicultures and how we have to relate to one another with respect and morality or ethics. And then the next concept is the legal, which focuses on the meaning of caring regarding responsibility and accountability. And all organizations have rules, regulations, and policies, and nurses are engaged in policy development, both in their academic environments as well as in the institutions, the hospitals themselves, to develop standards of practice, which are critical to the moral practice of nursing. And then how do we respect the rights to privacy? And of course, in the United States, you know that privacy is a very critical element amongst the political realm. And then how do we prevent malpractice or bad practice? And how do we also assist in this arena of defensive medicine and defensive nursing, whereby we don't have, and we can challenge orders that might be more harmful to a patient. So that's all part of legal caring. And how do we incorporate that within our nursing education as well as our nursing practice? So next slide, please. So this definition of the theory of bureaucratic caring was very strong in its initial research back in 1980, 1981. And the focus of the political with respect to caring, the meaning of caring, has to do with issues of power and governance and authority for individuals, especially within our profession of nursing, in healthcare organizations and society. And, not only in Chile are nurses sometimes silent in terms of political communication, but also, I would say, often in the United States as well. So this is an area where we have to understand more fully and be able to communicate about the nature of how organizations are governed, and often power begins to be accumulated in persons who have the strongest positions in organizations. And this becomes difficult because often the political structure overrides or overcomes the caring processes that are supposed to go on, especially within caring practice, but certainly also in academia, where we have to be understanding and caring to one another as colleagues. So, and your Minister of the Environment, she talked about a concept called political justice. And I think that political justice, or the idea of how do you govern fairly and equally in organizations, is critical to nursing education and nursing practice. And so I think you have a good role model with your Minister of the Environment in your own government, and how she talks about that notion of political justice. And that can be a part of nursing, academics and nursing practice. And the next one is economics. Now, I have studied economic caring for over 20 years, and it focuses on the meaning of caring, which relates to issues of budget or the exchange of goods, money, and services. You know, in our culture in the United States, most nurses talk about all the academic or all of the administrators care about is the bottom line, and which means, you know, of course, the money. And so what I've tried to help nurses understand is that economics impacts everything. And even the pay that a nurse in practice or a faculty person would receive has to do with economics. So how is economics positioned in the context of fairness? Yeah, again, that whole moral element, you know, that is part of the spiritual, ethical caring and economic caring. So rather than us being scared of the concept of economics, we have to learn what it means. And, you know, interestingly enough, some of the first ideas about economics way back in 1756 by some of our leaders in economic theory, you know, this idea of caring for the other was central. And I have to say that we have to focus more on the economics of caring and what it means rather than focusing just on money or budget. Next slide, please. And of course, now technology is a critical element within our institutions, both in academia. And I saw on the slides there looking at, you know, simulated study, you know, within the context of your university, School of Nursing. And of course, technology is a focus on technological caring. How do caring and technology come together with the use of machines, and certainly in our modern era, the use of computers in practice or in general, and the use of the internet, how we text people, the social media, and now the whole arena of robotics and the institution of robots into practice. And we have a professor, Loxon, at my university, who is studying at Tokushima University in Japan about the development of human caring robots. And that, of course, is whether or not robots are an assistive, a machine for practice, or whether robots can actually have consciousness and can engage in caring, which is an ethical issue. And it's a big issue that we discuss on a regular basis when we're discussing the new approach to technology. But technology includes all of the non-human resources. And now, you know, what they're looking at in Japan is whether or not robots themselves can have consciousness, can be compassionate, can respond to caring. And Dr. Papalopoulos over in the United Kingdom, she uses robots from the point of view of how are they different cultures, what languages that these robots can use within the context of practice. So, you know, there's a lot of movement and research within technological care. And we know from our work in intensive care units, step-down units, and certainly with the care of our patients with COVID-19, that a lot of technology is used and has been used in the past to maintain life. So as nurses, we have a lot of research to contribute to within the context of technological caring. Next slide, please. So one of the important areas in the theory of bureaucratic caring and is educational caring, which is significant to all of us on this Zoom call, because we're educators or students, or even if we're in clinical practice, we are part of the education of patients. So the focus on the meaning of caring is both formal education as such, with generating a formal degree in caring and nursing practice, and also informal education and how we communicate with each other, or ways in which we share and teach within the organizational culture for improving the well-being and care of our patients. And now a big major arena that is within North America, and perhaps also in Latin America, is the interprofessional education and research. So at my university, for example, we have our, at the Provost's office, we have the Director of Interprofessional Research and Practice and Educational Development. And I am very pleased to share that that person is a nurse, Dr. Terry Eggenberger. So she is in charge of directing all of the interprofessional developments at Florida Atlantic University. And so as a proud nurse myself, I am very proud that we have a nurse at that high level. So that's another area where we can improve our communication and relationship with our colleagues, so that the idea of overpowerment is more embraced as a co-equal. So as academics, we have much to share and give to other disciplines, and other disciplines have much to share and give to us. And that certainly rests within the medical community. Physicians and nurses, pharmacists, social workers, we all have to work together for the well-being of our patients. And then the physical, of course, is how we focus on the physical state of being, which includes the biological and mental health, and how body, mind, and spirit are interconnected. And as we know, certainly since the COVID-19, there are many increases in mental health issues, because of isolation and inability to be communicative or to be educated together. And so now, as you know, in the United States, we have a terrible issue with violence, gun violence, and mental health issues. People killing each other and mass communication. Last week with those little children in an elementary school, and old people in a market, grocery store. So, there's trying to change the laws in this country, which is extremely difficult, because we have the Second Amendment, which says that everybody has a right to carry a gun, which, is problematic in and of itself. But mental health is certainly a critical element as we move forward. I know our time is getting short, so next slide, please. So I wanted to point out that there are two levels of theory development in this research. First one is called differential caring. So the idea that caring characteristics are actually expressed in slightly different ways by different people. Like nurses express caring in a different way. Administrators primarily express caring related to economics, interestingly enough, economic caring. And it actually was a turning point for me to understand how economics and politics influence nursing practice. And so, so this idea of understanding for example, in ICUs, we might have more of a focus on technological caring. And in oncology units, we might have more of a focus on holistic body, mind, spirit, or spiritual caring. And so this idea of the bureaucratic caring as different is understanding how nursing roles or administrative roles and different units in a hospital would incorporate dominant patterns that might be different, from unit to unit, or the way in which administrators might be talking about caring versus nurses in practice. So next slide, please. So the formal theory of bureaucratic caring came as a result of my research and my analysis using Hegel, the philosopher, who looked at, for example, a thesis or a central domain. And I looked at caring as a central domain. And then Hegel's philosophy always incorporates the opposite. What is the opposite to the concept that you're interested in stating? And then, so in my situation, I looked at the opposite of caring, which is the bureaucracy, the system. And the bureaucratic system, of course, includes the political, the economic, the legal, and technological. And then how do we bring those two elements together as a synthesis? And Hegel's theory is thesis, antithesis, or the opposite, and then the synthesis, how is it brought together? So in my theory, that's what I did, was to incorporate the thesis and its opposite, the bureaucracy, into the full theory of bureaucratic caring. And it was first published, of course, as a dissertation, and in 1984 and 1989. And recently, I had my evolution of bureaucratic caring theory in the International Association for Human Caring Journal in 2021. So that is how the theory came about. Next slide, please. So, and next slide from this one, please. So I wanted to just say, because the concept bureaucracy has been a difficult concept, especially for nurses to understand or to appreciate, I wanted to share with you why I chose bureaucracy. And I based it on the rational legal ideas related to the philosopher and economic theorist and father of bureaucracy, or considered the founder or father of the concept of bureaucracy, from Max Weber, the German philosopher. And we can see from my theory and looking at the way that he explained bureaucracy is there are specialized roles within an organization. There's a hierarchy of roles. For example, in an academic environment, you have a president, you have a dean or a director, and then you have people in charge of different departments. Or in a hospital, you have a president, a chief executive officer, a financial officer, nurse administrator, and then you have charge nurses, and then you have nurses who are providing direct practice. And then there's a division of labor. So, there's different responsibilities associated with these roles within complex organizations. As academics, the dean has responsibility, or the director has responsibility for the whole school of nursing. And in a hospital, a nursing administrator would have full responsibility for all nurses who are practicing within her or his institution. And then, of course, you have the political realm in bureaucracy, which has to do with the power relations of power and control and governance, how a system is organized and governed. And then the economics is the exchange of goods, money, and service, and attention to money and the budget within an organization. The technological is the procurement and use of non-human resources. And then the legal has to do with rules, regulations, policies, standards of practice. And then recruitment is based on merit. So a person, for example, who is a director of an organization, an academic department, would have a doctorate, the highest level of education that one could have. And in an organization, a hospital, the person would be hired on the basis of advanced education and advanced practice. So that is the, I based a lot of my own analysis on Weber's work on bureaucracy, and then the human caring part is the compassion and moral perspectives related to nursing practice. And I brought those two together using Hegel, thesis of caring, antithesis of bureaucracy, synthesis of the theory of bureaucratic caring. So that is my presentation for today. And I know that we're probably over the time a little bit, but I will respond to any questions in writing, email, and I will respond to your questions that you have about this theory next week. I'll send you a response to any questions that people in this group have related to my theory. And I'm delighted to tell you that my theory has been selected by the United States military healthcare system as the theoretical framework for the development of professional caring practice. So it is a great honor to service 10 million beneficiaries related to the advance of the theory of bureaucratic caring in the military healthcare system. So I think that's the conclusion of my talk. Also this theory is used in different hospitals, public health, community health, even in prisons and in veteran organizations. So it is developing a wide range of application in these different environments related to healthcare, not only in the United States, but in Canada and other countries around the world. So it has given me great honor to have this theory recognized as important to the profession of nursing and to the healthcare systems around the world. So muchas gracias. Thank you so much.
Pues bien, queremos agradecer a la doctora Marilyn Ray por la clase presentada, al tiempo que vamos a dejar con ustedes a la profesora Lucía Castillo, quien moderará a continuación la mesa de preguntas de esta actividad. Lucía.
Bueno, muchas gracias, doctora Ray, por su presentación. Ha sido muy interesante. Nosotros conocíamos su teoría, sin embargo, al escucharla de su propia voz, claramente se destacan otros elementos que la hacen mucho más interesante. Yo le quiero decir a la doctora que hemos tenido mucho interés en su clase, que se ha manifestado en la realización de muchas preguntas de parte de algunos invitados, pero también de nuestros estudiantes, ¿ya? Entonces yo quisiera partir con una pregunta, ¿ya? Si ella tal vez brevemente nos pudiese responder a la primera pregunta, que es realizada por los estudiantes de tercer año de la carrera. La pregunta dice así: según lo que menciona sobre la teoría de la atención burocrática, que apunta a que las organizaciones que promueven las elecciones éticas, el respeto y la confianza se convertirán en las organizaciones del éxito del futuro. Frente a ello, ¿cómo la enfermería en Chile puede contribuir administrativamente a que las instituciones de salud alcancen este objetivo, conociendo el actual contexto chileno de cambio social y político? ¿Cómo podemos contribuir activamente en este proceso aplicando herramientas de la teoría? Esta es una pregunta de estudiante de tercer año.
Ms. Castillo, may I offer my greatest thanks to you for putting this presentation together and inviting me to be a part of your faculty and your students. And I wish to offer you a sincere gratitude for everything that you have done to make this happen.
No de nada. Francisco. La doctora Rey, ¿pudo escuchar la primera pregunta? Ah, ya. Ah, perfecto. No se escucha.
Hay que decirle que está
Aparentemente
en el
la doctora Rey no nos está escuchando, eso es lo que puede estar ocurriendo.
está en el otro canal. Ella debe escuchar el otro canal.
Ah, pasó algo ahí con la...
Ms. Castillo, did I see a question on artificial intelligence?
¿Necesitan que repita la pregunta o no?
I thought I saw that there, but yes, artificial intelligence, computer science, robotics is critical. We have a new program in our graduate program in nursing, which is the integration of engineering, computer science, and nursing science. And so we will have our first 2 students coming to do that study between, and also looking at artificial intelligence, of course, and robotics and all the technology associated with nursing practice and healthcare development and systems. So if I saw that correctly, that is a new area that is integrating with caring science.
Sí, me da la impresión que la doctora Rey se adelantó de pregunta. Yo quisiera retomar la pregunta número 1, que me parece muy interesante. Según lo que ahora que ya se solucionó las conexiones, según lo que menciona sobre la teoría de la atención burocrática, apunta que las organizaciones que promueven las elecciones éticas, el respeto y la confianza se convertirán en las organizaciones de éxito en el futuro. Frente a ello, ¿Cómo la enfermería en Chile puede contribuir administrativamente a que las instituciones de salud alcancen este objetivo, conociendo el actual contexto chileno de cambio social y político? ¿Cómo podemos contribuir activamente en este proceso aplicando herramientas de la teoría?
And I was going to also say that I think you had a issue of simulation education as well as in person. And so we are looking at how to improve simulation, of course, using technological instrumentation to teach, because it's sometimes very hard to have all the students in the clinical hospitals or community centers, you know, and in the States, there's a lot of competition for different universities using the different hospitals. And so we're improving our simulation teaching and learning. And with, you know, the different technological sim man and sim woman and different things. And we are soon to have a new $40 million building for simulated nursing being built in the next 5 years at Florida Atlantic University. So the area of technology and simulation is becoming, you know, increasing, but we always have to maintain that human caring dimension, which is a commitment on our part at the university, that we have our human caring central to all of these other developments in technology and artificial intelligence, computer science and engineering and things like that. So we are also able to help other disciplines understand that human to human dimension, humanization, and not lose the fact that we are all human first and foremost. And we're holistic, we're body, mind, and spirit.
Gracias, doctora Rey. Tenemos una segunda pregunta desde la Universidad Austral de Chile, Valdivia. Consultar desde su teoría, por favor, si ella podría explicar cómo entiende la compasión.
Ms. Castillo, I will respond to any questions that people have, you know, by email. If people, you know, aren't, you know, maybe they have to have some time to put together some of your own ideas and then share them with me, and then I can respond as best I can, you know, based on what you've shared with me, Ms. Castillo, as well as our presenter. Let me see who's all presented today, you know, for the development of ideas from the School of Nursing at the University of Santiago.
Sí.
So,
Tenemos varias preguntas ahora. No sé si pudieses preguntar si la doctora Rey prefiere contestar algunas ahora en vivo o prefiere que hacer una respuesta después, todas por escrito. ¿Te podrías preguntar, por favor? Pues tenemos varias preguntas.
Ms. Castillo, are there any questions on the chat?
Yes, we have a lot of questions, Dr. Rey.
Would you like me to answer any of them? I think our time is completed now, isn't it?
No, we have some time.
Oh, is there a question on the chat that you might like me to answer?
Sí, hay muchas. Sí. Alguna, por ejemplo, hay una muy interesante, si le pudiese comentar desde la Universidad Austral, y le preguntan desde su teoría cómo ella entiende la compasión.
Would you mind translating what you shared?
¿Podría traducirle cómo ella entiende la compasión?
Ms. Castillo, I was going to ask you, within the practice of nursing, are nurses, do they feel respected as their knowledge and what they can do to improve the health and well-being of patients? Do nurses feel respected from administrators or people who are in control of the hospital?
Me parece que está...
You have many students, which is wonderful. So it's always great to see nursing students who are waving their hand at me. And I'm grateful to see them. And they're our future. They will be able, with their knowledge, change the world. And also, I think with the background that Ms. Navarro, Dr. Navarro presented, you know, to help us understand the whole history of what is going on at the University of Santiago School of Nursing, and then having a beautiful audience of students who are carrying on with the importance of caring science itself, and then developing new ideas for the practice of nursing within the technological environment and the post-COVID-19 arena that we're in today. So we're for our new students and, you know, in the different years of nursing academics, we're very proud of all of you and what you will do to improve nursing practice. And yes.
¿Sabes qué? Yo creo que estamos teniendo algunos problemas para que la doctora Rey pueda escuchar directamente la traducción. Yo quisiera saber si la doctora Rey me escucha. Doctora Rey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So, ¿sí? Okay. Doctora Rey, I would like to ask you two little questions. One of them is, how do you understand, or how can you explain the meaning of compassion from your theory?
Well, I've done quite a bit of study on the philosophy of caring.
That is a question that's sent from Universidad Austral.
Oh, gracias for the question. Compassion is a complex concept, but it really means we're, in the first place, we are humans. So how do we understand or how are we empathetic toward the other person? For example, in a way, we become the other. You know, we take on what the problems that they have so that we have a greater understanding of a person. So, or Dr. Erickson from Finland, she talks about compassion as suffering with the other. And, you know, over the course of nursing academics, we've tried to take away, you know, this kind of closeness to the person. But yet, like for someone like me who studied caring science for the last 45 years, we are trying to make sure that this human-to-human connection to one another is still the primary role of the nurse, of feeling the suffering of the other or the need of the other person, and rather than treating the person as an object, or, you know, and often, as we know in practice, a patient can be treated not as a human being. They can be treated, you know, as a technology. You know, sometimes as a nurse, we may go in to change an intravenous tubing and not even relate or communicate with the patient. So compassion is really the notion of becoming the other, suffering with the other in relationship to need or pain or something like that. And really, you know, for someone like me who studied caring science for many years, you know, yes, we might feel the pain of the other person, but is that not a better way than to think of the person as an object, like as a technical instrument, as opposed to a human being? So, you know, over the years in nursing, and I saw Miss Navarro's presentation of Florence Nightingale, and then Miss Henderson, and then of course she included me in her sort of historical development. But you know, when we look back at Florence Nightingale, her theory was to put the patient in the right condition so that the environment could work and help the patient improve. And, you know, she, in my view, was one of the first community health nurses, that human environment integration into relationship. And then, of course, one of Ms. Henderson's presentations has to do with relationship. And of course, I think that we cannot lose that human environment, human to human integral relationship, despite our issues of, you know, increasing technology or increasing political situations. You know, we cannot let these ideas overpower nursing. You know, nursing, and I saw this from Professor Ricardo Aya's work, you know, that nursing is embedded in the social relations and constructed in Chile within different sociocultural and historical contexts. So we have to be aware of that in nursing, and especially what Ms. Navarro presented also in the history of nursing in Chile and nursing practice, nursing science. And for example, the idea of science, like we study caring science, and caring science has to do with not only competency or tasks, but it also has to do with commitment to the patient and to each other. It has to do with our ethical consciousness. It has to do with how do we build confidence within our profession, that we are committed to caring and committed to the human being and committed to how to help a human being, even in relationship to the hospital system or the technological system. And then also, how does a nurse present his or herself as a caring person to another person? And in my school, we use the philosophy of Sister Dr. Simone Roach, which she has just started to identify these 6 C's of caring, you know, such as commitment, compassion, conscience, competence, communication. So that is central to our curriculum, you know, that all students have to have that knowledge of caring so that they don't just become divorced from the human being. So because that's the history and the philosophy of nursing, which is always to be connected, you know, as a compassionate person to the other. And like I mentioned, science itself is changing. Science is also being inclusive. Science is becoming more caring for the earth, caring for the universe. And so if we don't do that, the universe will diminish, will dissolve, you know. So we have to be proud of our caring profession. And I feel with the new approach to interprofessional education and research that nursing has a great deal to share with other disciplines such as engineering. You can't build a robot without having some understanding of a human being, right? And also to biology, to the practice of medicine. Doctors of medicine cannot work without nurses by their side, even though they might be diminished to some extent by, you know, sort of the power of medicine itself. You know, it always kind of overtakes nursing science to a large extent. So what I'm trying to build in my students is confidence in caring science and art, knowledge, and the ability to share that knowledge, not only with their patients, but with other disciplines who might not understand nursing or might diminish nursing. But I feel that what people are searching for today in science, and I know that from my association with scientists in Italy who are from around the world, what they're searching for is what we have in nursing: caring, compassion, love, morality, inclusiveness, you know, understanding diversity, all of these things that nurses have. So what we have to build in nursing is our confidence. And in the research that I've done with almost $1 million in federal funding, what the endpoint that patients wanted the most was caring. Believe me, I studied economics of caring, political, legal, all of those factors. But the most critical element was that a nurse and others express caring to them as a human being. And that was an outcome of millions of dollars of research study and in studying many different organizations. And, you know, you have to think that the whole, like when you look at a defense department or a military environment, that they would choose for their healthcare system a caring model. And they asked me when they were interested in developing their caring model, they asked me if a way that they could change my model to insert in their model in the military healthcare system, you know, how the system itself responds to the universe, like the Air Force itself, for example. Like you're looking at not only the air and Air Force aviation plane, but space. This is the next dimension of exploration. And nurses, years ago, as a military nurse, you know, I was developing nursing in space. What kind of nurses are we producing for the future? You know, who will be dealing with the marriage between a space technical environment and human persons in space itself. So, you know, there always has to be that connection between caring and compassion and ethics or moral behavior and the technical environment. And certainly space is the most significant technical environment that we have, you know. And for example, I have a consulting with a professor in Australia where we use to help the patients, the Aboriginal patients, the people who are living in far off areas of Australia, how we help them through, believe it or not, connect them with text messaging, and how they not only help themselves or help, you know, with nurses and patients connecting in text messaging, but how they actually help each other, you know, people who might not have that level of technology. So all of the Indigenous people now, as you know, and especially in Canada, Indigenous healthcare is a critical element of care, because in the far north, the Arctic, you know, where patients need to have specialized care and to be respected. You know, as they say, over the years in North America, we've colonized of the Indigenous people without enough caring and respect for them. So in Canada, the whole area of Indigenous healthcare, for example, at McMaster University, Indigenous healthcare is a major part of nursing care within the curriculum at McMaster. And they have a whole department of Indigenous or Aboriginal healthcare. In Canada, they also call it First Peoples who are the Indigenous peoples of Canada. It's not as advanced in the United States for Indigenous healthcare, but we will begin to see that growing in this country, in the United States as well. And I know you have Indigenous people in Chile and Latin America that need special understanding and care from professional nurses and professional healthcare persons, you know, to help. So I think everything is if we are committed, we will do things in a much more significant way to help people of the world, you know, in our own countries and across the world. And you may know I'm a global scholar as well, and I'm developing global nursing. And I'm part of the Nightingale Initiative for Global Health. And so, you know, looking at how do we improve care around the world, in our own nation and around the world. Yes. Oh, you're muted. Yeah.
Hooray?
Yes, I hear you.
See, can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, I do.
Yes. So, Dr. Ray, I would like to ask you if you can answer a last question very briefly. It's a question of our students, and they want to know which has been the most important challenge in the development of your theory. I think this is the last question we are going to answer now. Okay. So the other questions, we can make it written.
Well, the major challenge of my theory is for nurses and administrators to understand the meaning of caring as a spiritual, ethical, compassionate concept, but also how the spiritual, ethical caring relates to the other components of a complex system, you know, such as what we discussed, the political, the governance of an organization. How is caring central to governing an organization? The legal, how does caring, how is it within policies, rules, regulations, and standards of practice? How is caring still central? How is caring, again, very much significant and integrated to technology? That technology is not to be built without the human person in the context of healthcare. You know, baby technology can advance in other areas, but when it's related to healthcare, it has to be integrated with persons in caring. And then, and again, the whole sociocultural, like I was just talking about, the indigenous people, multicultures, people from all over the world who are immigrating to our different nations. How are they part of this whole understanding of culturally congruent care or culturally relevant care? And then, of course, education is key. You know, so all those dimensions of the bureaucratic caring theory need to be a part of the whole. And so the biggest challenge for my work is helping nurses understand the complexity of the meaning of the system relative to caring, you know, in the center, and ethics. And over the years, you know, my theory was rejected at first. People didn't like it. They certainly don't like the word bureaucracy, you know, because it's associated with red tape and, you know, not the best kind of behaviors. So that's a big challenge for me, how to help people understand that every complex system, including academia, is a bureaucracy. A hospital is a bureaucracy. A public health agency is a bureaucracy. They have all of those factors that Max Weber developed over the last 75 or almost 100 years now, that he advanced his idea of bureaucracy. But every large system is a bureaucracy because it includes the political, economic, technological, legal, sociocultural, all those components, you know. So that is a big challenge for me, but I know in the last 45 years of this work, people are beginning to see how important it is. It's used in the study of, interestingly, sex trafficking. You know, it's a global issue, right? You know, so the theory of bureaucratic caring is used in that, and there's just a new publication out on bureaucratic caring theory and sex trafficking, and it's used in the prison systems, and it's used in you know, different arenas. So I am honored that this theory has a meaning for many different, very complex systems, you know, and even medicine. Medical doctors, they're not the, you know, sometimes they don't have a theory that guides their practice or their academics, but, you know, they're becoming more concerned about caring and the systems that they service in. And even in business, I've had economists talk to me. I've had, my brother was a politician in Canada. He's unfortunately passed away now, but he liked to have my theory integrated into Canadian political systems, you know, and he certainly liked my ideas in the teaching of law. He was a lawyer, so he liked to integrate my theory into his legal teaching. and things like that. So I feel for nursing, and as a nurse myself, I feel very honored that this theory has relevance for all different disciplines and different practices, including, you know, one of the most difficult, which is the political arena. So thank you for the question.
Bueno, muchas gracias a todos por las preguntas realizadas. Hemos tenido muchísimas preguntas, pero que lamentablemente por tiempo no podremos responder de manera presencial o telemática en este momento, porque sí, la doctora Rey gentilmente nos ha dado la oportunidad de entregarnos una respuesta escrita a través de correo electrónico. De aquí más o menos a una semana más ella nos va a responder. Bueno, yo encuentro que esta mesa, sea que hemos tenido algunos traspiés tecnológicos, esta mesa ha despertado y ha manifestado el interés, ¿no es cierto?, que también nos ha dado escuchar esta teoría. Vamos a, luego, ¿no es cierto?, ya estamos a puertas de dar por finalizada esta actividad. Yo quisiera agradecer a todos, de parte de nuestra escuela, a todos los asistentes, a nuestras colegas y a nuestros invitados especiales. Quisiéramos también agradecer a nuestra dirección de escuela por apoyarnos en la realización de todas aquellas actividades que significan un enriquecimiento de nuestra profesión. Mención especial a todos nuestros estudiantes de enfermería que se encuentran hoy en sala y también a las profesoras Natalie Carballo y Joana Salgado del equipo de gestión que durante este seminario han trabajado en sala con nuestros estudiantes, ampliando el alcance de este seminario no solo a la especialización, sino que también a los estudiantes en formación, para quienes estoy cierta, el día de hoy ha sido muy significativo recibir una clase de la doctora Marilyn Rey, teorista contemporánea de enfermería. Finalmente, creo que a partir del seminario al que hemos asistido, esperamos despertar la reflexión al interior de la comunidad de enfermería, a transformarnos en enfermeros tal vez más observadores, más críticos y participativos, y así recuperar los espacios que nuestra enfermería ha perdido en un Chile altamente medicalizado. Para terminar, quisiera decir a la doctora Rey, Dr. Rey, you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Dr. Rey, I would like to thank you for your kindness in preparing this seminar and for sharing your knowledge and reflections with our nursing community, our nursing school, and especially with our students. That is the humility and the greatness of wise people. Please, Dr. Rey, receive our affection from all of us. One regards from Chile. Thank you.
And to you as well. Gracias, muchas gracias.
Bien. Agradecemos nuevamente a la doctora Marilyn Rey por su participación en esta actividad y también a la profesora Lucía Castillo por moderar este espacio. De esta manera, damos por finalizado este seminario Nuevos enfoques epistemológicos para la acción en enfermería, organizado por la Escuela de Enfermería de la Facultad de Ciencias Médicas de la Universidad de Santiago de Chile. Muchas gracias y muy buenos días.
Muchas gracias.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Your students.
The students. Ahí están los estudiantes. ¡Hola, chicos! ¡Hola!
Bye, bye.
Chao, chiquillos. Gracias por asistir.
Gracias.
Felicitaciones a todos. Muchas felicitaciones. Bye, Dr. Rey.